For more than half a century, Warren Beatty wasn't just a movie star, he was a cultural phenomenon. The kind of Hollywood figure who didn't simply appear in films, he changed the temperature of the entire industry. By the 1960s and 70s, Beatty had become the gold standard of charisma. Devastatingly handsome, brilliantly talented, and famously irresistible. Reporters joked that if he stood still long enough, a new romance headline would write itself. But his image as a legendary ladies' man was only part of the story. What the world saw was a man who had it all: fame, wealth, Oscar nominations, and a dating history that read like a roll call of Hollywood's most dazzling women. Natalie Wood, Julie Christie, Joan Collins, Madonna. The names were endless. Gossip magazines practically depended on him. Yet behind that glamorous public identity was a much more complicated man. Despite his smooth confidence on screen, those who knew him privately saw someone surprisingly introspective, often unsure, and deeply affected by the pressures of expectation. Warren Beatty never truly enjoyed being seen as Hollywood's most notorious bachelor. In fact, he envied ordinary people who were free to love without paparazzi waiting outside their doors. And for all the noise surrounding his personal life, he kept one surprising habit. He rarely talked about his relationships, even the most famous ones. While tabloids created their own narrative, Beatty quietly held the real story close to his chest, protecting parts of his heart that no one ever saw. By the time he reached his 50s, Warren had already lived a life most stars could only dream of. He had acted, produced, directed, and shaped political and artistic conversations in Hollywood. He married Annette Bening, became a devoted father, and appeared to have finally settled into a peaceful adulthood. But even as the world moved on from his romantic legacy, there was something about Beatty that never quite seemed resolved. Some said he carried a wistfulness when certain memories surfaced. Others noticed the way his expression changed when one specific name, one woman from his past, was quietly mentioned. He had lived a life filled with accolades, victories, and unforgettable beauty. But at 88, Warren Beatty now admits the truth. There was one woman he should never have let slip away. When Warren Beatty finally revealed the name of the woman he regretted losing, Hollywood was stunned. Not because she was controversial, nor because she was a scandal from his wild bachelor days. It was shocking for a simpler reason. She was the one woman nobody ever expected: Diane Katon. While the world obsessed over the glamorous tabloid-friendly women linked to him, Katon represented something entirely different. Quiet charm, eccentric brilliance, and a sincerity that could disarm even Hollywood's most guarded men. She didn't chase fame. She didn't cling to his spotlight. In fact, she barely acknowledged his reputation, which fascinated him more than anything. They met during a chapter in their lives when both were searching for meaning beyond the fame machine. Katon had just cemented her place as one of cinema's most distinctive voices, while Beatty was exploring more political and personal themes in his filmmaking. Their connection wasn't about glamour, it was about conversation, intellect, humor, and a strange magnetic comfort, neither expected. But the timing was complicated. Beatty's fear of commitment, fueled by years of being placed under a microscope, clashed with Katon's own vulnerabilities and desire for independence. They drifted apart slowly, quietly, without public drama, each burying the tenderness they shared under the demands of their careers. Years passed. Decades passed. And although both moved forward, she into a life of creative freedom, he into marriage and fatherhood, there was a softness in Warren's voice whenever her name appeared. Friends noticed it. Co-workers noticed it. Even Annette Bening once acknowledged that Katon held a unique place in his past. But Diane Katon herself never knew. Because Beatty's regret was not about romance, it was about a rare emotional connection he didn't protect when he had the chance. She was the woman the world forgot, but the one he never could. At 88, his voice had softened, but his truth had only grown louder. After decades of fame, heartbreak, and silence, he finally revealed the one thing he had carried longer than any award, any headline, any love story the public ever knew. He confessed that the greatest moments of his life were not the ones the cameras captured, but the ones shared in quiet rooms, long drives, and whispered promises with the woman he never truly let go. He admitted that he spent years chasing stages, applause, and perfection, yet none of it ever filled the empty place her absence left behind. "I thought time would heal it," he said, "but time just taught me how deep real love lives inside a man." After all the rumors, the broken timelines, and the stories shaped by tabloids, his confession wasn't about regret. It was about finally honoring the truth he kept hidden. That she was the one who changed him, shaped him, and stayed with him long after life pulled them apart. And as he looked back on the years slipping behind him, he said the words that stunned everyone around him: "If I could live my life again, I'd choose her every single time." And so, his final confession rewrites the story of a lifetime. A reminder that behind every legend is a heart that never stops remembering its truest love. If you want more untold stories, forgotten truths, and the moments that shaped Hollywood's greatest icons, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Your support keeps these stories alive.